use a print statement above this and then typecasting.
Wait, can I put it in the chat? Wait, audio thing. Okay, we will skip that for now. Pretend that. Oh, into 10.
Above in your code, you're showing that you can assign 10 to instantly.
Okay, ouch. Wait, I did. You know what? We can just put it here. Thank you, Will. 54. Pain. Okay, well, hopefully you guys get how that works.
I think you can't use int.
Okay,
you'll have to rerun that part, the int2 part.
Let's just pretend that never happened. But you guys get the basic idea, I hope. If you don't use int as a variable like me. Anyways, we can use comparison operators like you see above. For this, I will not run this cell because it has int in it, but I will code it. Okay. So, create an if statement.
You would restart your runtime. The compiler restart.
I'm not going anywhere close to that right now. I will not say int anymore. So, we saw if statements. We also have if, elif, and else. So, we could do if num equals to 3. We do this, but in some languages we use the parentheses. Also, side note that indentations are very important in Python because if you do this, maybe later on. Audit. Hello. Hello. Need conditional over here. And you don't have to put anything else and else because it's just like everything else. Okay. Again, I am not writing this, but hypothetically, if you do this, Python is going to get confused because it's very picky with the indentations. I also see troubles if you do this. If you put spaces instead of tabs, like you do this, it will not run sometimes. You can try it, be my guest. So lists. There are so many ways we can store pieces of data in Python. Among them are lists. So right here, this is a list. List can also be a mix of data types, like put list 2 over here. I'm very bad with names again. I to something dog egg. So if you print list right now, you're gonna see it with the brackets. So we're gonna get to that later, how to like print it without the brackets. But if we want to add something to the list because they're immutable, we can do list2 dot append. Okay. This is basically just adding it to the back of the list. If we want to change something in list 2, in Python, everything starts with like 0, 1, 2, 3. However, there are 4 elements. Okay. So if we get 1, that's going to change true. Run changes to false. And I'll print it out right now. So it changed. And what if we want to change doggo and yay? We can do list 2, -2, colon, equal to, we can change the variable type right now, 5, and curly that. Okay, so we have a different list now. To test if something is in the list, we can do if, in a statement, if 4, and list 2. And 4 is in. Okay, and it did. If it isn't in the list, nothing will happen. If we want to continue to index into the list, we can do print zero. So that will print 4. Okay. So sometimes we want to repeat the same operation many times. For example, if we wanted to print all multiples of 7 up to 100, we're not going to do like print 7, print 14, print 21. Like that, for us, is like too exhausting, okay? So we have something called a while loop. If we run that, it basically keeps doing the function that's inside the while loop. Every time the while, this condition, the number is less than 100, is met. We also have the for loop here. There's also something called a nested for loop. So it's basically a loop inside of a loop. So right now we can create 2 random lists. I can do adjective to funny, able, pet, I know. And please don't criticize me if red is a pet food. Okay. For I can be anything you want it to be. So I can be like red, an adjective, or I in pet, pink, red, comma. Okay, and it just loops through that. But usually most programmers use I and J because they're like the most common to them. Okay, it'll still do the same thing, ranges. In addition to using a for and while loop in a list, we can also use a for loop with a range of numbers. So let's say if we want to count up to 100, we can run the cell. Then we notice that it starts with 0 and ends with 99. Does anyone know like a special way to get around this? Okay, I'm going to say it then. Okay, so we have 2 approaches. Okay, yeah. Okay, we'll sell it. So for Okay, wait. 0, no, 1, comma 100. So this is basically like an inclusive and exclusive case. If we run it again, it's going to start with 1 and it's going to end with 100. Another way that isn't the best way, but it works, is um, 100, 1, and number plus 12. Okay, so you see there are like many ways to manipulate for loops. Okay, what's that? I also included like a little challenge exercise for people to do after this workshop. I included like the fizz buzz question that people usually get introduced. Okay, so going on to tuples. So tuples are like lists, but they cannot be changed at all. So tuples are created with parentheses, tuple 1 equal to apple, banana. We can index into them, like, and this will print out banana. Hypothetically, if we were to do tuple 1 dot append like we did in list, it's going to come up with an error like this. Okay, so for dictionaries, I'm just going to make a random dictionary of hackers. So dictionaries have a key and a value. So right now I can do a dictionary of people in this workshop and what ages they are. So I can do hackers dictionary people, curly braces. I'll just use I do not know your age, but let's assume that you are 15 years old, okay? We have Will. I don't know how old Will is, sadly. Let's assume he's 15. That's 14. Okay, then we have Risha. Let's make her in a string. Let's make her old. Just make her old, okay? So that will work. Are these similar to objects? I'm not sure what your classes and objects. Well, not really, because well, actually they are, but you'll see later on. So dictionaries, they can only print the value. So we can do print. And I'll print old like she is. And we can also print the key and value by doing a for loop. For key, yeah. Again, these are like totally random names. You can also change them to dog, cat. Doesn't matter, but you have to keep them consistent. Impacted odd items. And new value. Okay. Now going on to sets. Well, I barely see sets being used in real applications, but we're going to go over them. Okay, so sets are mutable and removes duplicates, but you cannot index into sets. So we can create a set like set equal to curly braces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do another 4 again. So we're gonna have dog. Oh, that's set. Set. Okay, as you see here, it literally just removes the 4 because there's already a 4 ahead of it. You can also add a set, add an element to the set. Add set. Also remove dog because we don't like dogs right now. Okay. Let's move this over here at the bottom. Okay. So what if we wanted to like combine a set? So we can create set 2 equal to 6, 7, print set dot intersection. So basically intersections, it's like a function that looks for similarities in between the two sets. So intersection and set 2. The print of 6 and 7. And set dot union. So this will basically just combine them all. Here's my checklist. Okay, there it is. Okay, for functions. Like we see before with for and while loops, we don't want to do like multiple things like adding digits together because it takes a lot of time. So for functions, we can just combine them all to one and call that function. So all functions in Python, they have to start with def, like def. This is just like my function name. You can do like choose it and add random things into it. I'll just do A and B because that's like the most random thing I can think of. Okay. Current A plus B. Now, if we do this, it will not work. So, like before, indentations matter. Print. I'm gonna call it again. 7, 7. Oh, and A and B are our parameters or arguments? Our parameters. 7 and 7 are arguments. But what if we did print 7, 7, 7? There's an error because there are 2 arguments, but there were 2 parameters, but there are 3 arguments. Okay, that is it for functions. Now on to classes and objects. So someone did ask about this earlier. So basically, a class is like a blueprint or a cookie cutter for our code. It's like a chunk of code that can hold data and functions. And objects are basically created from that class, and we can do one right here. So class markers. Python usually likes it to be uppercase because if it's lowercase, it usually gets mixed up with functions. We also have to do a function inside because init. Init's like All classes must have the init function because it's called whenever an object is created. Comma. Also, self has to be in there to create objects. And for hackers, every hacker has a name, hopefully, and an age. So we can do self.name, go to name, and self.age equal to age. And how we create a hacker is basically just like creating. Can you explain what self refers to? Okay, I am not good at this. So basically, wait, hold on like 10 seconds, then I'll like start writing the object. So hacker 1, go to hacker. Okay, so init is basically like the function that is called whenever this class, when the object calls from the class. Wait, so int. Okay, I really apologize if I don't give the best explanation of the class and object. It was hard for me to learn it, so it's going to be harder for me to explain it, but I'll try my best. So basically, self is referring to the object you create here. So we can also have like multiple objects from a class. Hacker 2 equals hackers. Will, I like your name, Will. And hopefully I answered all your questions. Congrats, you made it to this end of the Python workshop. If you have any questions, just unmute or just like spam the chat.